Well, it's not Boxing Day without two things, the cricket test and the Sydney to Hobart start. Now, I'm very pleased to welcome our next guest here, Kathy Veel. She has been sailing the Sydney Hobart for several years, and this year she's going to be the first all-female two-handed crew launch out of Sydney. Kathy Veel, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us a bit about yourself, how long you've been racing, and what makes this race special.
Yeah, good afternoon. I've been sailing, I guess, since my early 20s, and started off cruising, got interested in sailing, and way back in 1989, I was part of an all-women Sydney to Hobart crew, and we were the second ever all-women crew. The first was in 1975. It was then another 14 years till it happened again. And that was a huge adventure and lots of commitment with 12 of us on a boat. And we started off with no boat, no budget, and ended up getting a lot of support and sponsorship. And I did that a couple of times. I've just done the race twice before. Mm-hmm. My co-skipper Bridget's done it 8 times. She thinks she's kind of lost count. So that's my participation in this race. I've done a little bit of other racing, but not for some time. So it's actually 30 years since my last Sydney to Hobart.
And tell us, for the viewers out there, we see the boats go and they look majestic and beautiful, but anybody who's done a bit of sailing, I've done a bit of sailing, probably some of our viewers have too, know it is really, really hard work, and, it's not a luxurious sort of thing. Tell us what it is like out there on that yacht. There's 2 of you. You've got to stay awake, for however many days it takes you to get down to Hobart in your craft. What is it like? Tell us what the experience of that sail is like for people who might spend most of their time on dry land.
Okay, well, it's totally dictated by the weather and the conditions you're sailing. Whether you're sailing downwind and the boat's pretty horizontal in the water and moving really fast, or whether you're having to focus really, really hard to get the boat moving in very, very light winds, or else you might be bashing into strong weather with the boat on a big angular heel, and everything on the boat becomes difficult to do then. So, and that's hard enough with a full crew. For 2 of us, some things are simpler because you know who's going to do the other job. You can... so there's fewer people to make mistakes, I guess. But we really have to manage our energy. We have to give each other time to rest. And sailing two-handed, it's probably better to think of it as alternating single-handing, because we're certainly only going to be most of the time just one of us up on deck at the time managing the boat.
Wow, yeah. It sounds like an incredible journey that you're going to undertake there. Now, I want to just ask you finally before you go, you're a volunteer with the Making Waves Foundation. What is that, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, it's actually huge, and I'm really happy to have the opportunity to talk about it. It used to be known as Sailors with Disabilities, and it began 25-odd years ago to provide access to sailing for people with all kinds of abilities. So it was founded by a man, David Pescud, and he famously completed the Sydney Hobart many times with crews with a range of disabilities, like being blind, having amputated limbs, and the whole thing. And it was terribly inspiring and really opened people's eyes as to what people are capable of. And they started then doing programs taking children with disabilities out on the boat to give them an experience to something that they would never have access to. And the kids just come alive in that experience. They kind of get valued as part of the team, the crew on the boat. They get to learn things, and just the stimulation of the physical environment, all the things that we love about sailing, they really switch something on in kids. And they come on the boat very nervous, often shy. Some don't even want to get on the boat. It's such a strange environment. And just to see them over a couple of hours relax, become confident, start to move about the boat and join in, and we get them on the ropes and on the helm, and they have a fabulous time. So I became involved in that 6 or so years ago, when they had a shout out in a little magazine called Afloat magazine, wanting people to get involved. And I had a bit of a sailing background, and I sort of came in as a volunteer skipper with that organisation.
That's fantastic. Well, Kathy, thank you so much for telling us about that. Best of luck in the race. We'll be watching, and best of luck for great conditions.